www.offthecorner.net. You're watching the F.A.C.T Project, and F.A.C.T, of course, is an acronym that stands for Fundamental African Centered Thought. The goal here on the F.A.C.T Project is to convey some facts and some information to members of our community. We have joining us today Brother Kwabena Rasuli from the Clear the Airways Project. Peace, Brother Kwabena. Thank you for joining us today, brother.
What's up, brother? Always good to be with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. We're slated to have Dr. McIntosh join us briefly as well. So we'll see how that's going. Either way, there has been a lot said in recent months about the boycott against Netflix. And I want to touch on that. But Brother Kwabena, we get new viewers all the time. And you represent the Clear the Airways Project. Can you give us a brief history on the Clear the Airways Project for people that might be seeing you for the first time?
Clear the Airways Project has a goal to it was specifically to clear the radio airwaves of music that demeans and degrades our people. Songs that tell us to kill each other, songs that call our women folk B's and H's, encourage us to drop M-bombs on each other, promotes drug usage, alcohol abuse, and materialism, and just straight up disrespect in our music. And so that's our goal, that's our mission, is to address that madness. We started, actually, the Clear the Airways Project started after the murder of Idea Pendleton, the young student from Martin Luther King Academy, by the way, in Chicago. They went to perform and sing with a choir at Barack Obama's second inauguration, only to come home around a week later and be gunned down after school one day.
Wow.
And so we got together. We had a group called Citizens Against Violence in Gary, Indiana. And we were protesting at the radio stations also because of those same reasons. And then we met up with a group of brothers and sisters from Chicago who also had a protest at the iHeart station. It was Clear Channel at that time, WGCI. So we got together. They got in contact with us and said, "Hey, we need some of y'all signs. We're gonna protest the GCI." And so we all got out there on it was like a 14-degree day in downtown Chicago. Now, of course, won't forget that. We had about 9 to 10 people out there right at their headquarters. Brother Lupe Fiasco showed up.
Oh, wow.
He was he was on the station doing a radio show, and he took one of our signs and brought it up to the studio. I don't think we heard Lupe on the radio again after that.
Wow.
That's crazy. And he's one of the one of the best hip hop artists, world renowned, from Chicago. And I don't think we heard him again since then.
And how long ago was this?
That was Hadid was killed in 13. So it was in January 13th. So probably February. Yeah, that's right. Because we had a protest right before us that we love our children. It was a Valentine's Day. So we titled our protest, "We love our children too much to allow you all to continue this violent music being played on this station out of Hammond, Indiana, which is broadcast throughout Chicago, called Power 92.3.
Okay.
A horrible station, by the way, brother, and people need to understand this. This is a station as a big conglomerate, and what they do is they play conservative talk, Christian broadcasting all around the country. They even have a Christian station or gospel station in Chicago. But when it comes to African youth, it's songs about killing people.
Wow.
It's called Crawford Broadcasting. They're ridiculous. And they stay one of the worst stations in the whole world. I was about to say country, but in the whole world. Have to be one of the worst radio stations in the whole world.
And you said they started out with conservative Christian talk?
They still play conservative Christian talk. I was working in Huntsville one day, driving through Huntsville, flipping the station. All of a sudden I hear Crawford Broadcasting. When I would call their headquarters, Elizabeth McGuire in Denver, to complain about this and address this, I'd be put on hold. I'll be listening while I'm on hold. I'm listening to one of their stations. This is Matthew verse 7, chapter 13, whatever. Bible verses.
Wow.
Only to talk to this lady and she tell me, well, this is what they want in Chicago.
Wow. And she knows that how? Who did she talk to that told her that that's what they want?
Exactly. Well, maybe it's the ratings too, because I talked to somebody who used to work there, and he said the money they make in Chicago, off the Slop Pop station, off the Kill Black People station, it helps to fund the other stations.
Wow. See that? That reminds me of the colleges, the football players. They sacrifice themselves and they, sell tickets to football games and the school benefits, but the football players really don't.
Yeah,
Same concept.
it's hard. It's horrible, but when we would be one thing we could talk about is how, again, they play all that Christian music, and again the conservative talk part. Of course, most of that was like anti-African, but they
Right.
play all this Christian music, all that, and saying what we get in Chicago is amen. I'm finna kill ends in the building. Amen.
Wow.
She wants, from Meek Mill. Oh, we get blessed, from Big Sean. The P is good, so he's blessed. Or we get God from Young Jeezy. I'm a God in the hood. My chopper make an end hop a 10-foot wall. That's what we would get. That's the Christian music or the gospel music or the religious music we get in the Chicago area for the young Africans out there who have been programmed and continue to be programmed with this genocidal music.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the campaign against Netflix, how did that begin?
Actually, right, that's about a year ago.
Yes. Okay.
It was about a year ago when the trailer came out. I think it was like a little like late March, but the trailer came out, and we kind of heard that there was going to be a tribute or a remake of it, but we didn't know it was going to be animated. And when the trailer came out, it all hell broke loose everywhere. It wasn't just us. Dr. McIntosh should tell you, I got a hold of him and told him to check this out, and we were all appalled. And that's what it was. Brother Najee Ali and Project Islamic Hope, they held a demonstration probably in beginning of April. It may have been late March. As soon as they saw it, they had some religious people, some spiritual leaders go out in Los Angeles and held a protest early on. But there was also protests everywhere. One of the things we always talk about is how Stephen Smith. We know Stephen Smith, H. Smith, and this guy Jason Whitlock. They don't really get along, but they agreed on that one. They agreed on that one. They went in on Steph Curry. And when you looked at the trailer early on, and I still make this analysis of the amount of people who give it a thumbs up on YouTube. I guess it was YouTube, whatever format it was. You can see how many people give it a thumbs up, but you can't see the number that gives it a thumbs down. You have to go into you have to do some manipulating to see that. And we saw like about 200 people had given it a thumbs up. And then when we found out how many people gave it a thumbs down, or somebody may have said this and told us how to do it. I looked at it, it was like 2,000 gave it a thumbs down.
Wow.
And even the last time I checked, there were like 8,000 people who have given it a thumbs up. 80,000 plus gave it a thumbs down.
Wow. Seriously? Wow.
Yeah. So the people don't want it. The people do not want it. The people understand how ratchet and disrespectful and ignorant this is.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So we got see if I could do this real quick. Brother RJ Tayemba, my brother out of Harlem Liberation School. Shout out to him. He did a piece on what's that thing? TikTok, where he talked about it. See if I can play that really quick. And he said it's managed to gain a lot of attention in a short space of time. So see my brother RJ right now. Just bear with me. I think Dr. McIntosh.
Got to use those tools. Right on, brother RJ. Got to use those tools.
Oh man, hold on a second. Here we go. Yeah, that's exactly what he's trying to do. Okay, you see it? And you see it now?
Yes, I see it.
All right, so let's see if we can hear it now.
Several months, CMOTAP. You know that for several months, CMOTAP, the Committee to Eliminate Media Offensive to African People, wrote several letters and held several protests complaining about a show on Netflix they consider offensive to Black people. They allege that a cartoon series called Good Times Reboot is inappropriate, racist, and disrespectful to members of the Black, African, or African American community. Although it's a cartoon for adults, they fear it will attract the attention and viewership of our children, who will see images of themselves portrayed as violent, hypersexual, disrespectful, and ignorant. In a climate that is hostile to Black people, we must resist any attempt to misrepresent and stigmatize who and how we are. For those reasons, They are asking black people to cancel all their Netflix subscriptions as soon as possible because disrespecting our people is not okay.
All right. So that was our brother IJ Taimbo. What are your thoughts on that, Brother Kwabena?
It's right on. It's what we need the people to do. And I'm glad he put it on that platform, so more and more people can be exposed to see what's going on. Brother made it plain, made it short and simple, and that's the deal. We have to hit them where it hurts. We have to put economic sanctions. I know several people who have just canceled. They just said, and you know, they said, this is ridiculous. They may watch it, they try to look at it, and they cancel it.
Okay. So it's hard to gauge though because Netflix is acting as though it's business as usual. Is there any way for you to gauge whether it's really beginning to affect Netflix or not?
I'm not sure of any direct way to engage. Just when we're talking to the people and sharing with the people how important it is that we stick together on this direct action. I know a lot of people are doing the same thing with this piece with Target and a lot of people at Amazon and others. Like what happened on the 28th and what continues to happen right now with those economic sanctions because of this attack, this Project 2025 DEI sort of attack. So I think I agree that these um, economic sanctions are important. As a matter of fact, it's ironic that it was about a year ago, like you said, when his trailer came out, and talking with Dr. McIntosh, talking with Bob Law, talking with our brother LeGrand Clegg out of Los Angeles, CMOTAP, and we were looking at it was right around the assassination when Dr. King was assassinated in 1968, April 4th. And all three of these brothers were talking about direct action and economic sanctions. And they hadn't spoken to each other, just as separately, that they were talking about this and how Dr. King had emphasized the need for direct action and economic sanctions. I think there was a protest against Wonder Bread and some other entities back in the day that he was spearheading.
Okay. So I think we got Dr. McIntosh backstage. I don't know if he can hear us. I'm gonna assume he can. Um, if I can, I'm gonna maybe put a question in the chat for him because it seems he's having some trouble getting on. But Brother Kwabena, you touched on the and we're gonna come back to Netflix, but we touched on the boycott against Netflix, which is what the topic is today. But you mentioned the boycott or the 1 day direct action against Target and some of these other brands. What is your opinion on that? Because a lot of people have different opinions on whether that's going to be effective or whether that makes the point or not. Like, what is your opinion on that?
I think it's good for us to come together in solidarity, whether it's 1 day, whether it's indefinite.
Okay.
Of course, I heard people saying, "Hey, get what you need to get the day before," and then and then don't do anything on the 28th, and then come back, I guess, on the 1st of March and go back shopping and buying again. I mean, that's kind of problematic. However, I think the whole concept of getting people in that mode to do that is a good thing. Getting us mobilized and organized is always a good thing when we do it for righteous reasons. But in terms of the length of the boycott of the economic sanctions, I think they can be longer, of course, and again, be indefinite. And we see that Jamal Bryant and others are working on things like that. Also, National Black Leadership Alliance, we talked about that too with other groups. And so but it's important. It's important that we withhold our spending. In a capitalist society, not only do we withhold our spending, we have to also put more efforts and emphasis in supporting those businesses who are of us, who support us, and who look out for our best interests.
Yeah, I think boycott is always a great idea. We saw the effect that it had in Montgomery in 1955 when they did the bus boycott. I think the only mistake there was to go back on the bus after they acquiesced to what the people wanted. And I think the second mistake was to not start your own bus company, cab service or something, because they had already had the momentum from doing it themselves. And then they went back and got back on the bus. The people that own the bus company were no less racist, no less white supremacist than they were before it started. And so you went back to ride on the bus owned by the white supremacists. So for me, that's a problem. I think if you're gonna do a boycott, I say for Black people, any boycott should last at least 360 days, 365 days. And if it needs to last longer, it should. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted 380 some odd days. And you could see the sustained indignation that the people had. It actually worked out to some extent, but they kind of went back on the bus. So I say, if you're going to boycott Black-owned business, if you're going to boycott white-owned corporations, you should do so in favor of supporting Black-owned business so that we can generate our own economy, because spending is what drives an economy. What is your opinion on that?
No, I agree. And one of those examples I have today is that I live in a city, and I always blame Detroit, get mad at Detroit about this too, because they allow some other groups to come in and just take control of our convenience stores and gas stations and all that. And they, where I live, they pretty much live away from here. They come in, take all the money out, sell us these poisonous products, and then they leave the community. In Gary, Indiana, we have I was saying 19 liquor stores in Gary, and five liquor stores in the neighboring cities of Hammond that I mentioned earlier, where that radio station is located. In East Chicago, there's 5. In the city next to us called Hobart, there's 5. But we have 19. So I shared that on the radio, and on the station said, "No, you're wrong. We don't have no 19 liquor stores. We got 25."
Wow.
So they're the ones who running probably 20 of them or 22 of them. So and poisonous products, again, taking money out of our community. It's horrible. But there was that Montgomery bus boycott. It's interesting. One of my relatives, my mother's older cousin, passed away last year. And we went to his services, and they're from Tuscaloosa. He had a car back in the day during that time. And he said he was dispatched to go to Montgomery with his car during the boycott so he can use his car to help transport people around.
Wow.
That was his contribution during that time. And the sacrifice is so very important. There's a song. That's why I love conscious hip hop so much. There's a simple, beautiful song by the Roots called Sacrifice. Tell you one lesson I learned if you want to get something in life. Something about, how am I messing up the chorus? Tell you one lesson I learned: if you want to get something in life, you're not going to get it unless you make a little bit of sacrifice. Beautiful chorus. I'm messing it up, but I would always say when I play it on a weekly wrap up, that if our children heard that every day, like they hear this other crap, they would be singing that chorus. It would be getting embedded in their head instead I'm going to take you out.
Right. That's true. That is true. So not sure if you saw this, but see if I can share my screen again. NPR did an article on Good Times. Did you see the NPR piece on it?
How long ago was it?
It says April of 2024. So this is almost a year old already. So this is not even new. Let me see if I could share this, because there are a few points that I would like to make regarding what NPR article says. And
as you get it then, so as you get it up, as you work to get it up, I was looking for the In These Times article the other day that did a story on the protest this past week. Okay, you got it up. Okay, I'll remember to finish that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to come back to the demonstration. So this is from NPR, National Public Radio. It says Good Times, Netflix Good Times, an explicit revival which feels calculated to offend. You see the title, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just us seeing this as something offensive. It says it starts with an opening image that reads Good Times Black Again. It's packed with the kind of stereotypical characters and imagery which seems sure to anger fans of the original series, which was a groundbreaking 70s era sitcom revered for the way it challenged presumptions about a poor Black family scratching and surviving in the Chicago housing project. Now, the article goes on, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I think this was interesting. It says, much of it plays like one of the most jacked up editions of Adult Swim. You know what Adult Swim is, right? That's this kind of adult cartoon thing that's on Cartoon Network overnight.
Yes.
It says most of it plays like one of the most jacked up editions of Adult Swim I've ever seen, littered with images that sometimes feel like stereotypical cartoons exhumed from the worst online Reddit conversations. You know, Reddit is where the white supremacists get together and and have conversation. There was another part of this that I had wanted to read where the baby gets kicked out of the house and the sister goes on a hunger strike. You familiar with this part of the series?
Yes.
And she goes on a hunger strike, and it mentions in the article here, I'm not finding it now, but it says she goes on hunger strike, she becomes very emaciated, and flies start buzzing around her face, much like how we see the famine in Africa when it happens, and the flies are buzzing around the children. Okay, here it is right here. It says the baby Dalvin has been kicked out of the house because he's a pistol packing drug dealer with studs in his ears. When his militant older sister Gray decides to go on a hunger strike in protest, she gets emaciated and has flies swimming around her face like a child suffering in an African famine. What are your thoughts on that NPR article? Brother Kwabena, can you hear me? We got two Kwabenas here. Let me see something. Brother Kwabena, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
can you hear me?
So I can hear you now. I was asking you what your opinion was on the direction that NPR article was going.
I mean, it was right on. It was telling it like it is. It's horrible, and like you said, it's a horrible depiction of our people. And when I was sharing, also when I was looking for the In These Times article that talked about what happened at the protest, it took me to so many articles. Like I mentioned, Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock, and there's a whole bunch of them podcasts that were done by the son of what's the dude's name? He was on the Wayne show. Hilarious brother, crazy. I don't know what. But his son, he had auditioned to be a part of the animation, The Voices.
Okay.
You know the dude from Boomerang. He used to be on the Richard Pryor show back in the day. He just passed a couple years ago.
Brown Witherspoon.
Well, yeah, Brother Witherspoon. His son did like a whole piece on pretty much every episode. And there were just numerous, and you can't count how many people were doing podcasts and articles about how horrible this is. One dude, I may have been him, he said it's probably the worst depiction of a black family ever on television or ever that's ever been broadcast. You talked about the flies all over the place. They have this thing, I guess, for roaches and rats. Tisha Campbell is doing the voice of this landlady in there. And when their house floods, their apartment floods, I should say, all the other apartments are fine, but their apartment is flooded. And they got roaches floating on a beer can in there. They got, they call her to complain about it. She's a good singer. So she sings out, keeping your head above water before she hangs the phone up or something. They end up, something happens to her and she falls down, or her weave slips or something. So she falls down a stairwell made out of weave and dies. And soon as she hits the ground, rats come and devour her body, just eat her body up.
That's crazy.
This is the type of crazy stuff they got depicted in this piece.
Now, you mentioned Tisha Campbell. I know Cree Summer and some other people did voices. Has anyone, confronted some of the voice actors that participated in this?
No, I haven't heard anybody directly confront them, or hardly anyone with this. Simotap has been probably one of the most consistent in doing this and confronting some of those powers that be. But I do know that they have heard the backlash. They understand the backlash. Even I believe Bernadette Stanis and them, they had done some voiceover that they Thelma, but they shared that they didn't realize this was going to be the end product.
So her voice does appear in it then, right? Bernadette Stanis, her voice is on it.
I think on an episode or something, they got them to say some things or something. But yeah, I understand.
I saw her mention that she didn't read the script beforehand. Like, how does that work?
Bro, I don't know. I mean, I would think you would read the script and see what it's about, but I guess all the time they don't. They probably were comfortable or just thought it was going to be, not what it was. But they are not. I mean, we can when we hear the song, hopefully you'll play it later. But when we hear the song "Bad Times," she talks about it. They talk about it.
Yeah, no, I will play that at the end, definitely. Either way, there were two demonstrations this past week. And we were hoping to get Dr. McIntosh on, but he was having a technical issue, so he's not going to be able to join us today. We do plan on having Dr. McIntosh back as soon as possible so that he can tell us what happened at the demonstration. I know I went to the one on Tuesday at Madison Square Garden in Midtown Manhattan, and I saw a lot of different people from a lot of different organizations. You had POP, People Organization for Progress, out of New Jersey. That's Larry Ham's organization. UNIA was there. Raymond Duguay, who heads up that division of UNIA, was there. And Charles Barron from Operation Power, who was an elected official here in New York City, was a city council in Brooklyn, as well as an assemblyman. And it was a handful of a lot of other people out there. I don't have the pictures up now, which share some of the photos, but it was well attended. The call was for Steph Curry to apologize. And there were signs, banners, and CMOTAP and the other organizations were out there just spreading the word about the campaign against Netflix. Did you hear anything else about what happened on Tuesday?
Yes, indeed. I did hear December 12th was out there. I saw some footage that I think it was somebody from December 12th had shared. I read the In These Times article. Just definitely glad that it happened, that the people showed up and showed out, and that the people let the people know what was going on. The fans, or people who coming to watch the game, coming to chill and relax and get away and watch a little basketball, were confronted with that. It's very important that we stay on the case. I'm glad it went off in Brooklyn also 2 days later. So appreciate the consistency of the people in New York and moving forward with this. As you know, I was at the demonstration in Chicago that we held early last month out there. And also there was a demonstration in Los Angeles. And these were days when, of course, that Golden State was visiting the teams in Los Angeles and Chicago disrespectfully. I put that diss in there before because, again, I don't know, bro. It's like, not only who else would accept this, they wouldn't even do it. It's like, why are you doing this? And then we let them know we don't want it, we don't like it, all the articles and all that. And then they said they're going to bring on a second season of this.
Yeah. So now, is there any way to gauge the numbers, like on Netflix? Like, how many streams does it have? Like, who's watching this? Like, I'm curious to know if the numbers are up, if they're going to continue with a second season, or the numbers kind of iffy. Like, is there any way to gauge that?
I mean, I'm sure they have those tools to gauge some of that, but again, just by public opinion, you can see that the people don't want it. We often give updates and talk about what's happening with CMOTAP and Clear Airways Project on our local radio station here. And we were talking about this Good Times Beyond Minstrel Shows, what we call it Beyond Minstrel Show, because minstrel shows, I don't believe, were this pornographic and this violent, so this is a Beyond Minstrel Show as far as we're concerned. And we were talking about it one time. As soon as I got off the phone, there was one of that 800 or one of those 8,000 called in and said he liked the show.
Wow.
He liked the baby drug dealer who's really coming back into the house and using his money to help take care of the family. He said he likes it. So he was one of those 8,000 as compared to 80,000. This is the older dude, man. It was the elder coming in talking about he liked the show.
So yeah, there was another demonstration in Brooklyn on Thursday, a couple of days later, and I wish Dr. McIntosh was able to join us. There was some interaction with the police. Do you know anything about what happened on Thursday in front of the Barclays Arena?
I did talk to him about it, and again, it'd be best for him to share more. But he did say that they wanted him to go to a certain location and what have you, trying him out. But the same thing we had to deal with in Los Angeles, in Chicago. But Chicago, the logistics there were fine. We were actually right in front of the ticket gate, and they told us to move out. And I know right where the people come in, and so we went right over there to where they come in at, and so we engaged. And shoot, almost everybody who came in from the west side of the stadium saw us out there with our signs, and we had a bullhorn too, so they saw and heard us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was same kind of thing in New York. There was no bullhorns, but people were able to go by and read the signs. Ticket buyers, as they were going by, they were hearing the chants and they were able to see the signs. And people kind of just walking down the sidewalk that were just walking past the garden. They got a chance to read some of the signs and get some flyers. And so Simo Tap and all the other groups are out there basically just raising awareness about the campaign, which, a lot of people know about, some people don't know about. I know Simo Tap has been doing some Zooms to try to follow up with the people to try to just, continue the campaign to see who's boycotting and who's, engaged in what action around it. What can you tell us about some of those Simo Tap Zooms that have been initiated to spread the word about the campaign?
I can tell you there's going to be more because the campaign continues, but right away in April of 2024, a year ago, we started having periodic sessions and Zooms, just informing the people what was going on, providing instructions, getting ideas also from the people, and giving updates on the progress that we were making as individuals, as organizations, and just sharing this information. So that's been ongoing all year. That's part of the campaign that we have in order to educate and also organize and mobilize the people to fight against this. We have to eliminate this media that's offensive to African people, and with Simo Tap's mission. And so, so that's been going on righteously. We've had scholars and educators and historians who have been with us during this time to speak about this and update the people. So,
so now in history, they say when a people are vilified in the media, it's a setup for a genocide of those people. So we've seen this happen in Nazi Germany and in other places. And the people who are subject of the genocide, somehow they never see it coming. And to practice genocide on the people, you have to first besmirch the name and the character of those people. Do you think this Good Times reboot is part of the effort to besmirch the image and the character of Black people? This way, when the genocide begins, everybody will look the other way and say, well, they're all a bunch of bad people anyway. What are your thoughts on it?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. They deserve it according to the behavior that we see depicted and promoted. That they deserve it. They're less than human. I mean, I look at that with that most despicable, disgusting, dangerous word in the history of English or any other language. That's every time you turn on social media, pretty much, or definitely turn on the radio, you're being called that. Saturday morning, I got up early and looked at social media, and before 8 o'clock, at least 25 inbounds were dropped on me.
Wow.
So and so, but Dr. McIntosh has an excellent presentation that he shared with us that talks about all of that addresses all of the propaganda and these campaigns to dehumanize the people. And then what do you do after that? One of the things he shows on this presentation is the depiction of of the father. It's an episode where the father sees a dog, and the dog, I think, saves his life. He has a medical emergency, and the dog saves his life. And it's a PTSD dog, and he didn't know what PTSD meant or how to say it. So he thought the dog's name was Psst.
Yeah.
So he called the dog Psst, and he took the dog home. The wife got mad. She said, "Ain't but one BITCH in this house."
Wow.
She's jealous of the dog, and so she locks the dog in the room while her husband performs doggy style type sex on her. And Doctor talks about the image, how they make his cranium, how they make his head look like a Neanderthal, like a beast or what have you, wide jaw. So he talks about that in there also, but he shares a clip. And when he shares the clip, the language they're speaking in is French. So they're depicting us all around the world in animation, in these images, in other languages. The clip is in French that he shares. And it took me back to Jay-Z and Kanye out in Paris, rapping about ends in Paris, just dehumanizing us and disrespecting us globally.
Now, one of the things. Go ahead.
No, I would just think about Brother Traore and Professor Lumumba and Malama and these brothers over in the Mama Land in Africa, especially up in the Sahel. And those French colonies are showing them a little different light a little bit right now. I'll
Oh
get
yeah,
out of here.
yeah, they're showing up. Period.
Exactly.
And this is one of the things I was mentioning at the demonstration on Tuesday. They said if this was white people that practice the Jewish religion or gay people, LGBT, the response would be a lot different. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it wouldn't be no issue. It wouldn't be happening. It would not be happening. So that's what we have to get to this point. One of the things we talked about, I think, at our last CMO chat, was the last meeting, was that, that the fact that that the people showed up, that we showed up in New York is so very important. It's the largest city in the United States. We need to get to the point where, like I said, there's like 80,000 plus who are giving us a thumbs down. That's a lot of people as compared to people who like it. And we're showing that, we're talking about it. We need to come out like Dr. McIntosh says and show it. We need to make this more than a spectator sport. We need to get out there, like what happened in New York, because we have to stop this. With the music, the people know how horrible it is, but a lot of times they don't think there's nothing we can do about it. So no, I think it's very important, bro, that we have to that we put it into this, and we have to show. We have to get out there and be with the people, and we have to protest. Unfortunately, other groups, like I said earlier, like we just said, they don't have to protest. It's automatic. And so I equate it to the NBA, and that's why Adam Silver is also targeted in the NBA, because we know with Kyrie Irving, when he just shared that people may want to check out this video that offended some Jewish people, he was sanctioned, he was fined, he was suspended. I'm quite sure he had to go through sensitivity training, and he was made to apologize. All of that. It was major news at the beginning, I think, of 2023 season. Major news. And so here we have the same NBA where players are dropping N-bombs, songs are being sung at halftime, calling us bees, telling us to kill each other. Telling us to commit. We just what's his name? Rich Homie Quan passed a little while ago. He had a song out a couple years ago called Flex. Get that H some X. She gonna want a sex at the end in the set. That's the chorus of the song. He's performing the song at opening night of the Atlanta Hawks basketball game at the Omni.
Wow.
Performing that song. The Baby performing Rockstar at NBA games. My little daughter G, she saw me kill an end or shoot an end at the age of 2. Stuff like that. I'm gonna take this. What else he said? Just crazy stuff. This my God, or his gat, whatever. Talks to him and tell him they have to spray people, has to spray ends. This is the type of lyrics, and they're singing this at NBA arenas. But however, when the Baby goes to one of those minstrel fests and says something ignorant about the LGBTQ in between songs that they catch on the mic, you don't hear him no more. You don't hear him anymore. He was like, the Baby was number 2 behind Drake for years in terms of airplay. They play him all the time. We were monitoring this crap all the time. You hear 3 or 4 Baby songs an hour sometime, and you probably hear 5 or 6 Drake songs an hour. You don't hear him no more.
Wow.
It was okay to rap about, killing black folks, spraying bullets on them. But as soon as you said something bad about the LGBTQ, you don't hear him no more.
And this is
NBA.
You said there was an off the mic comment that was made, and they got canceled for that.
Oh yeah, it's canceled. Wow. Now the Good Times reboot has him in there. They got the Baby, Lil Baby, and Baby, right, shooting at the little 2-year-old baby.
Yeah,
they're drug dealers. They're shooting at the little 2-year-old baby. All of them are depicted as babies shooting at another baby. A baby, which, by the way, who has been kicked out of the house, and when he sneaks to the house, by the way, his mother lactates every time he comes around. They have her with a shirt on. Her nipples, her shirt becomes wet every time the baby's in the area. This is what happens in this cartoon. But when he leaves the house, he has to get out of there before his daddy gets home. The mama wants him to be safe, so she puts a gun in his diaper.
Wow. And that's supposed to be funny.
This is in the cartoon.
Yeah, that's supposed to be funny.
That's supposed to be funny. And in Fort Wayne, we got a rapper killed at a car wash, and his little 5-year-old baby shot and killed too.
That's crazy.
That
So
just
now
happened the other day, and it's all
you
connected.
you mentioned NBA and the Kyrie Irving situation. Kyrie mentioned a video on social media. He didn't show the video. He didn't play the video. He didn't post it to his social media. He just mentioned it, and he gets canceled. But Steph Curry, who's involved with the NBA, is involved with this Netflix series. And the NBA has yet to say anything to him. Do you know anything about that? Has the NBA said anything to him about this?
Not that we've heard. The only thing we've heard was Steph Curry when he was addressed by one reporter after a game about it, just saying, "Yeah, this is an iconic sitcom. It's a little edgy, whatever he said." But then when the reporter followed up and asked him, would he be watching it with his children? And he said, "No, I will not be watching this with my children."
So it's okay for him.
Later for our children.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So that's okay for other people's children, but it's not good enough for his children. Meanwhile, he's behind it and getting checks in the process. So not only is it disrespectful and deplorable, but he's actually getting paid. He's actually getting an extra paycheck for doing this. And so you mentioned the lyrics. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You just going to say something about the lyrics.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned the lyrics that are performed by these artists at the halftime games of the NBA. And you spent a lot of time talking about the music that's played on the radio. I know here in New York City, we have Hot 97, Power 105 that play the disagreeable, I'm going to kill me an N-word rap. And that's the station that's marketed towards the black people. Z100, another major station in New York City, target audience there is white children. And the lyrics are totally different. You talk a lot about this when you talk about Clear the Airways Project and the campaign that you've launched against the radio. Is there anything else you could add on to that about the difference in the lyrics based on the market that they target?
iHeart used to be Clear Channel stations in Chicago. At one point recently, they had like 7 stations they owned. The only one that played music about killing people, calling people ends, calling our sisters B's and H's, is the station that targets young African children. That's WGCI. That's the only one of the 7 that they had that did that. They have a station that targets young Europeans called KISS. They do better now. With White Mike, they did a survey years ago. They said every time KISS gets one sexual reference, GCI gets 25, a 25-to-1 ratio of sexual references in the songs on GCIs compared to KISS. Both iHeart, both same age group. Only difference is one targets young Africans, one targets young Europeans. When it comes to violence, it was a 50-to-1 ratio. Every time there's one violent reference on the KISS station, there were 50 on GCI. And so when we look at those numbers of killings that were taking place in Chicago, it ruled out to be the same. It was at one year, it was like almost 11 people every day were being shot in Chicago, almost 11 every day. And if it was 11 being shot, 10 of them looked like us. And so, yeah, the direct, indirect, whatever relationship, you can see it right there. And it was pointed out to them. We met with their leadership of the Crawford Broadcasting and also GCI's broadcasting Clear Channels a couple times. And they know these numbers. They know. So that's why we say they know exactly what they're doing. Now, when it comes to the NBA, so Ja Morant messing around with NBA young boy songs, got suspended not once but twice with the gunplay. He got suspended for a long length of time against the culture of the NBA. That's bull. That's hypocritical. Just last month at the NBA All-Star game in Steph Curry, where he plays at in San Francisco, they brought in Jello Ball to perform at halftime. Jello Ball is the Ball brother that's not in the NBA. He's a baller too, but he's not in the NBA, so he went to rap. He has a song called Tweaker out. On this song, Tweaker, he talks about putting holes in you, spinning block, dropping in bombs constantly, calling our women B's and H's. A horrible song. They got it not organically as a hit song out there right now. He performed. When he performed, you did not hear him say, of course, the N-bomb or the curse words. But what you did hear was him say the line that his trust is in God, Glocks, or his Glock, and cash. And a good friend of mine was like, wait a minute, just spend John Morant for having a gun, but yet they got it to All-Star game, a song where the guy is talking about that's just trust is in his Glock. A guy, mind you, who didn't grow up needing to deal with that, who didn't grow up, his brothers both have 50, 100 million, making $100 million in the NBA right now. But that's what he comes out with a song, and the NBA sanctioned this. They sanctioned this, and that's the same dude a week before or 2 weeks before. I said, I'm, in the sports, so I'm kind of was in Detroit this year, but he goes up and jinxed them as he performs at their halftime of their playoff game that they lost. Why? You know why? Because a guy named Lucien Grange, who's in charge of Universal Music Group, said we're gonna give this dude an $8 to $13 million contract for this one song Tweaker. So you got an $8 to $13 million contract. They gifted him, and so he can help spread this poison. And Lucien Grange, again, so this dude is actually they call him Sir Lucien Grange because the Queen or somebody in England hit him upside the head with one of them swords, made him a knight of him, made him because of his work in the music industry.
Wow.
This is the same dude I think Angie Stone was complaining about when she was complaining about, I think in December or sometime recently, not too long before she transitioned, about not getting her royalties. Universal Music Group was holding her royalties. I guess he gave those royalties to Jello Ball.
Yeah, that could be. They're funny with the money. Now, as it relates to the radio, you have filed complaints with the FCC. And you talk about how easy that is. Now, years ago, we had rabbit ears and you had network television, and then there was cable television. Now it's streaming on the internet. Does Netflix come under the same FCC regulations as cable television or regular network television?
McIntosh, they were working on that a minute ago, but I think they were told that it's a little different. It's a little different. So from my understanding, it should, but I'm not quite sure on that one. Okay. But that would be a good one for him because they were working on that. But what I can say is that when you mentioned Charles Barron and Inez Barron, there is a resolution that is, and this is the thing we're talking that you mentioned earlier too, where other groups don't have to deal with this stuff. There's a resolution that was heard or that was introduced in the New York City Council in 2019, condemning Hot 97 and condemning Power 90. What was Hot 97 and Power 95? What's the other one?
Power 105.
Power 105. Condemning both of those stations for the ratchet, horrific music that they play and the influence on our people. It's the resolution, the same similar resolution was done in Wilmington, Delaware, that was passed in Gary, Indiana. And the biggest city in the country has had that sitting there for going on 6 years now. And even after it was, you have tap, National Black Leadership Alliance, Educator. I wrote letters to each and every congressman, city councilman. Each and every one of them got letters asking them to please hear and pass this resolution. And we only heard back from one. Had that been of any other group, it would even came to us. And so we're still struggling to get that resolution heard. I wish I had the name of it right now, but if you just look up Clear the Airwaves Project, New York City Council resolution, is right there.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so we don't know if we can go after or mention this to the FCC or file a complaint with the FCC. So we have to look into that. And in subsequent weeks, if we can get an answer to that, let me know so that I can mention it here. We got a Cookie in the chat that says she stopped her subscription with Netflix and is giving it a thumbs down. So we want to thank Cookie for that. Now, Brother Kwabena, there's been a lot of calls to action, the least of which was canceling your Netflix subscription. That was the first thing. There was a letter that went out from CMOTAP. Betty Dobson had said something out to the black churches. And there was a phone call that you're supposed to call Netflix and make a phone call. I called and I got a lady in the Philippines. She took down my information. Not sure if it got any further than that. But were you engaged in some of those other actions apart from just the canceling of the subscription?
Yes, I did. I made phone calls. I did talk to somebody at the headquarters.
Okay, and what happened there? What did they tell you?
they claimed that they were logging it in, and they would forward the complaint, but I never heard anything back. But I did make the phone call, so they got the phone call. Also,
Okay.
I participated in a demonstration in Los Angeles at at the Netflix office in Los Angeles on Sunset, and right by the Hollywood Freeway. There were several of us out there, organizations out there, and SNCC veterans, Black Panther veterans, uh, uh, people from Marcus Garvey School, CMOTAP. We were all out there demonstrating, and it was the same day, the same time, pretty close to the same time. The demonstration took place in New York City at the Netflix offices in New York City. So we've been
Yes.
on the ground, and doing this also. I wanted to share. I was just at the National Society of Black Engineers convention, I should say, out here in Chicago. It's held here in Chicago, and we do this. We do this. We were letting people know about the work too that was going on in New York and all around about this Good Times piece. A lot of people didn't know, some did, but we did the music survey out there, and we went to some brothers from Houston specifically and asked them questions about the content of this music that them and their peers listen to. And this is a survey, and people, I want you guys to check it out and answer the survey yourself, and maybe record it. It's a quick 3-question survey. Give us the percentage of music that you and your peers listen to that drop the N-bomb, that call our women folk B's and H's, that encourages Black people to shoot and kill each other. And the answers, again, were in the 80s and 90s and 100 range for these 3 questions on the survey. And we say that to say this is also what's happening in this sitcom, in this animated sitcom. You could ask it, it's about murder, it's about disrespecting our women, and N-bombs are constantly used all throughout the sitcom. Steph Curry should be ashamed of himself. He should really be ashamed of himself. Renata Shepard, the others. Seth MacFarlane also has a lot to do with this. He's also an executive producer of this. The same Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy, the same Seth MacFarlane who had our untouchable Harriet Tubman depicted in that dress that she typically wears, with a naked white woman draped all over her, claiming that she was having lesbian whatever. I hate to even say it, with Gwyneth Paltrow. And this is what he had depicted on Family Guy. This Seth MacFarlane, and Steph Curry teams up with him to do a ratchet. Oh man, it's disgusting. But the people don't like it. And so what we're doing with CMOTAP, Clear the Airways Project, other organizations, UNIA, D12, we're saying let's mobilize, let's organize and put a stop to this. We got to put a stop to this.
Okay, so what's the next step? People watching this, what can they do? What would be the next step?
We say continue to not say continue. If you haven't already, cancel your Netflix subscription. Let them know. Let them know why you're doing it. Call them and let them know. Also, let other organizations that you work with that are in your community know what's going on with this. Let them know that they are attempting to do another season of this embarrassment, of this dangerous embarrassment. In Los Angeles, Golden State Warriors have one other game in Los Angeles on April 3rd. So we're going to be out in Los Angeles at Crypto Arena downtown in protest of Steph Curry and the NBA and their complicity and their direct involvement in this Good Times animated Beyond Minstrel reboot.
Okay. So, Brother Kwabena, we want to thank you for joining us. I want to go to Bad Times, Sam Sun and DJ Tiger. Shout out to both Sam Sun and DJ Tiger. Now, you played this on your radio show. When can your radio show be heard?
Friday nights. We've been flowing on Fridays, we say, for the last 26 years on a show called The Weekly Wrap Up, conscious hip hop and classic funk with a little mellow extension. And it's on WGVE out of Gary. So that's the best way to catch us on WGVE. I'll usually share the link on our Weekly Wrap Up Facebook page also. And this is one of the reasons why just real quick too, I'm thinking about our brother Roy Ayers. We played a lot of Roy Ayers and Angie Stone last week. And there's so much, we have so much good music, so much, this music is part of our culture, our people's way of life. And it affects us so much. And I mean, I was writing the other day, had to do some work in Illinois, but I had my Michael Jackson, or Mellow Michael CD on, and I was playing Show Me the Way to Go. And I'm hearing it, I hadn't really listened to it a lot, but I'm singing every little nook and cranny of the song, and it's just still embedded in my head. And it ain't just me, that's all of us. And this stuff they're embedding this madness in the heads of our children. And we wonder why we see the actions that we see. Like Fred Hampton Jr. would say, That toxic music. You give us toxic propaganda, the behavior becomes toxic.
That's right. That's right. That's actual facts. So you've been spinning Bad Times by Sam Sun and DJ Tiger. What's the response been to that on the radio?
Oh, it's been good. People like the song. You'll hear in a second. It's clever. It's what should be heard. It's good music. So the people enjoy it. So yeah, we got it. We play that, and we still play the Marcus Garvey cut. Marcus Mazai Garvey.
Nice. Well, salute. Thank you for that, brother. We appreciate that. So if I can go ahead and share my screen, I want everyone watching this in the chat to listen to the song, listen to the lyrics, and if you like it and you feel inclined to share it on social media, please do so, because we're trying to spread the word about the campaign, and we could use that plug on social media if you feel inclined to share it on social media. But here is the song.
Hey, brother, Spike Lee was out there?
I did not see Spike Lee, no.
Okay. Yeah. I heard he passed by.
Oh, you know what? If he did, it was before I got there. Because up till I was there up until when everything kind of started to break up a little bit at the end. Mm-hmm. Up to that point, I did not see Spike Lee. So that's a question for Dr. McIntosh. When we get him, we'll have to ask him that question. Okay, so this is for people in the chat. Listen to the song and put in the chat whether you like the song or not. And we'll maybe have a little bit more discussion after the song.
Jimmy Walker came to them and he presented a cartoon about 5 years before this. When the trailer came out, we saw it and everybody was like, no.
Netflix, yeah, you ought to be ashamed. Renata Shepard, yeah, you ought to be ashamed. When the original aired, not many look like me on the screen. Black faces far few in between. A black family where the father was rare. Matter of fact, this was the first time Hollywood dared to have a head of the household married with 3 kids. A cinematic accomplishment apart from where they would live. There was Jane, Florida, JJ, Thelma, and Mike. JJ got real popular saying Dynamite in a heartwarming, hilarious sitcom with a father doing his best and a mother trying to clean up the mess. The oldest son was a struggling artist battling many hardships in the midst of making us laugh. Not an easy task. The only sister saw education at value. The younger brother was a militant little pharaoh. How can you do a reboot for this? If it ain't right, everybody gonna be pissed. Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good. Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good. Not bad, meaning bad. Not bad, meaning bad. Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good.
There are 2 roads out of the ghetto. So far, we have managed to stay on the right road.
Word. New cast members are bats and roaches, baby selling crack. Executives hoping that we didn't notice. Yep. Belligerent, bogus, totally unacceptable. Pardon even individual arts less than exceptional. Left the projects 50 years ago. 50 years later, they back in the same building that ain't there no more. Wasn't Florida moving next to Walona? And Thelma's husband got a new contract. Show me where they at. Who want to see this taking 20 step back mentality? In the projects crammed with food stamps and agony. They got an ulterior motive to paint our people as hopeless. The only brothers they want to see get supported is Jonas. We're tired of the aroma you can smell in the slum. For it to be continued to what was originally done.
Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good. Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good. Not bad, meaning bad. Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good.
Due to their vision, our people made a petition to get this nonsense removed from the boot tube. Nah, it ain't cool. How can it even be called a reboot? We're ethics in the original, but undercurrent subliminal messages in the new one. Along with blunt ignorance, let's band together, get it removed. Do our due diligence. Hold the creators accountable for the content. In 2024, we won't accept this nonsense. Esther Roller's rolling over in her grave, thinking how was this ratchet animated series ever made?
This is given by the white people, made up by white people. Black community is different. It has a different language and culture altogether.
If you don't talk like we talk, see it like we see it, stop telling our story incorrectly up on the screen.
Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good. Not bad, meaning bad, but bad, meaning good. Not bad, meaning bad, but meaning good.
so much stuff being offered on television. You got 500 channels with nothing on most of them. You know, repetition of the same old thing, replications of shows that have been successful. That's become the norm. If a show succeeds with one knucklehead, then let's do a show with 5 knuckleheads. It doesn't work.
That is Sam's son and DJ Tiger. Bad Times. Again, want to shout out Sam's son and DJ Tiger for making that. I get amped every time I hear that, man. I think that track is fire. Brother Kwabena, what are your last final thoughts on that?
I agree. That's the type of music that we need. It's conscious music. It's good music. It's clear. You can hear what the brother's saying. And it's important. Right. It's message music. It's music for the times. It's what we need to hear. It's protest music. You know, we have had a history of protest music during times such as this, and it's so very important that it gets shared and gets played. And so that's why we keep it in rotation, and we ask other people to play it too.
Yeah,
and music like this.
Yeah, Cookie in the chat said you become a product of the music you listen to and the television you watch. I think more people need to listen to that Sam Son and DJ Tiger song and become a product of that kind of thinking. But with that, Brother Kwabena, I want to thank you for joining us, brother. Shout out to you. Shout out to Clear the Airways Project. Shout out to Dr. James McIntosh, who was having a technical issue and was not able to join us. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Dulce Doom, Henry Cedillo, Cookie, everybody else that chimed in the chat. Brother Kwabena, you want to say any other closing words before we leave?
It's so important that we work on this issue. I'm gonna quote our brother out of Dayton, Ohio, Coach Powell, who just says we are children. Our children have to be protected. They can't fend for themselves. We as adults is our responsibility to protect our children. Our children are under attack by this media industry, this good times piece, this music, and we have to protect our children.
And how can people follow you and the Clear the Airways Project?
Clear the Airwaves Project, and it's Airwaves, WAVES, cleartheairwaves.org. Also, you can catch me on Clear the Airwaves Project on Facebook also, and clearairwaves@gmail.com. Okay,
and you can also find CMOTAP on some of those social media sites. It's CEMOTAP. So CMOTAP again is CEMOTAP. And you can follow them.
That's the committee, and that's the committee to eliminate media offensive to African people.
That's correct. CMOTAP, the committee to eliminate media offensive to African people. You can find them on social media as well for all the latest. I'm gonna come back on this live in subsequent weeks, and we're gonna continue to do updates and continue to keep our foot on the gas on this issue, brother. So I want to thank you for being out front. And, being the face of it practically and, make sure that you keep that momentum going. We appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you, man, for sharing this platform and all the content that you share with the people on the F.A.C.T project.
Oh, no doubt.
All fundamental right, African-centered thought.
That's right. Get that book. Get that book. All right, Brother Kwabena, thank you again, brother, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
All right, well, love, brother.
All right, brother. Peace.
Peace.